Yeah, you read that title right. I said what everyone was thinking. You will never, ever be a real anime fan. Something that's bothered me for a while now is this sense of elitism in the anime community, especially online, which maybe being online to begin with was my first mistake. And that's something I want to talk about in this video. As someone who's been watching anime for quite a while now, it's just, I go online and I try to talk about my favorite anime, and every time I say like, oh, My Hero Academia is my favorite anime, or I really love Demon Slayer, or I think Love is War is really good, I get slapped with the tourist or fake fan or just newbie, and it's really annoying actually. Because to this group of online anime purists, you will never ever watch enough anime to prove yourself or graduate from this tourist phase. Because if you like anything that is remotely popular, tourist. You like anything that's remotely interesting and new, fake fan, newbie. And it's just, it's dumb. And like I said earlier, whenever I talk about some of my favorite anime, like if I say, oh, my favorite of all time is My Hero, and my second is Demon Slayer, and my third is Fullmetal Alchemist, which I guess Fullmetal Alchemist kind of gets a pass because it's the acceptable one to like. I get these weird comments about how I'm new to anime and I need to go watch my second show. I put out a video a couple months ago about my top 10 favorite anime because it was like National Anime Day or something, and just going through the list, and all of the comments were like, bro needs to watch his second anime, bro needs to watch more anime, because my top 5 legitimately is Spy Family, Love is War, Fullmetal Alchemist, Demon Slayer, and My Hero. That's 5-1, not 1-5. And it's like, who are you to tell me what my favorite, who are you to tell me what my favorite shows are? You don't get to inform my opinions just because you've watched anime longer. And at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what reasons I give or how deeply I talk about enjoying those series, because I do still get labeled as this fake fan and a tourist. I could spend an hour, actually, I spent almost an hour on one of my My Hero manga streams talking about why I love the series and going into all of these deep things and the themes and the meaning, and I will still get labeled as a fake fan and a tourist. I could spend an entire podcast episode talking about the intricacies of Demon Slayer and why the story is actually kind of deep and complex if you look at it, but then I get labeled as a fake fan or a tourist because I said I like Demon Slayer, which is not the correct anime to watch. Which, it's so funny when these people say these things, because they will say like, oh, well, my favorite anime is One Piece, and One Piece is valid because it's an old show, and old shows are better than new shows, and I hate to break it to you, I hate to be that guy, but One Piece once was a new show as well, so if you had this same attitude back then, you never would have been allowed to like One Piece. Same goes for any of the original big 3 or any of the big anime from way back in the day, like Bleach, Naruto, Gintama, Dragon Ball. If that's your favorite anime, that's fine. I'm not saying you can't like those anime, because you can. They're just not my cup of tea. But if your argument is, I like this show because it's better than the new stuff, newsflash, those were all new shows at some point in time. And to the people who say I need to go watch my second anime, not to flex or anything, but I have watched over 150 plus anime, including movies, so maybe tone it back with that one. I've watched a lot of anime, and you might say, well, you haven't watched the good stuff. I mean, you're right. I've watched a lot of mediocre shows, like a lot of mediocre shows, and my top 10, like, I'm still adding stuff to my top 10. Like, Mashal made it in my top 10 last year. That was probably the newest one I've added since then. But then I do have a lot of more older classic ones in there, like Gurren Lagann is in my top 5. Or no, it's in my top 7, I think. There's a lot more to liking anime than just, oh, I've watched a lot of things, because it's not quality, or it's not quantity over quality. It's about the quality of the shows. So even if you've watched 5 anime, if they're really high quality, good anime, that's better than watching 150 mediocre ones. And let's be real, I'm no less of an anime fan just because I haven't seen the most niche show known to man that never got finished because the author quit halfway through or some nonsense like that. It's just this elitism of like, oh, well, I've seen this super niche anime that you've never heard of. It never got localized, actually. It's only fan subs, and it's really good and you should watch it. Like, that doesn't make you a better anime fan than me. That just means that you went through a lot of extra hoops and hurdles and work to watch something that maybe wasn't that good. Now, let me add a caveat here. Should we go back and watch older, more classic anime like the Gintamas, the Bleaches, the Dragon Balls, the Narutos? Yes, they're classics for a reason. They have this status of classic because they are these great timeless shows that a lot of people have nostalgia for, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I also don't think we should shame people because they just haven't had a chance to watch them, or they did try to watch them and they just didn't like them. And I think the same can also be said in reverse. Should we watch newer shows? Yes, because a lot of newer shows are great. You have your My Heroes, your Demon Slayers, your Jujutsu Kaisens, but we shouldn't shame people because they don't want to watch the new stuff either, because I can see both sides of the argument of the people who grew up watching classic anime before it really became a mainstream thing saying, well, I don't like them that my favorite thing is mainstream now, because being mainstream does kind of ruin things, and I get it. So yeah, essentially, don't shame people for the anime that they do or don't watch. You can encourage them and say, hey, I think Bleach is really good. You should watch the original Bleach. And in the same breath, someone else can say, well, you should watch Jujutsu Kaisen, because I think Jujutsu Kaisen's really good. I don't personally, but just for the sake of the argument. But if someone doesn't want to watch Bleach or doesn't want to watch Jujutsu Kaisen, let's not shame them for that. You can respectfully disagree, and that's something that anime fans have all but lost, and maybe they never had in the first place, was this ability to respectfully disagree. And that's something I personally try to do, is like, My Hero Academia is my favorite, and that's fine. I love My Hero. There's a ton of reasons why I love My Hero, but I can also acknowledge that not everyone likes it, even for the same reasons that I do. Everyone is entitled to their own opinion, and we don't have to agree, but we don't need to attack each other over not having the same opinion. Going back to the whole, like, should we watch classics thing, that was something I got in film school a lot, and it really bothered me because I got a lot of weird looks and comments because I hadn't seen all these classic films like The Godfather and Jaws and any Quentin Tarantino movie, and everyone just kept asking, if you haven't seen these movies, why are you in film school? And I got it from professors too. Like, professors asked me, why are you in film school if you haven't seen these movies? And it was kind of like one of the most demotivating things I've ever experienced overall, but also just in college in general. Just because I was motivated and inspired to go to film school because I liked movies like Star Wars, the MCU, I like anime and the storytelling that's present there, doesn't make me any less of a film person or any less deserving of an opportunity to make a great story than you, who's watched every single Quentin Tarantino movie. Your favorite director is the most niche person known to man. It's the same argument, just in a different environment. I actually got one really condescending comment on a video a while back that insinuated I was new to anime since I only mentioned the mainstream anime in that video, and that I needed to branch out and start respecting Japanese culture as a whole and not just anime. There's a lot of wrong things there and a lot of things that are wrong with that comment, and the one aspect of it, though, that I think is not technically false is about respecting Japanese culture as a whole, but I'll come back to that in a second. The problem I had overall, and I think the bigger issue with that relates to the anime fandom at large, is the air of condescension that came with it, and that's a big problem. Because I'm not opposed to listening to what you have to say. I'm actually a really big proponent of, if you don't agree with me, jump in the comments. I want to have a discussion. Let's talk. And I don't have an issue with that. My issue is when you start belittling me or you belittle other people to make your point. We should be able to talk on equal footing and say, hey, I disagree, or hey, I agree, and not have to belittle each other. Just let's have a conversation. Now, circling back to that point about respecting Japanese culture, I personally would be lying if I said my desire to visit Japan didn't start out because of anime, but over the past few years and the more anime I've watched, I've gotten really curious about, why do they do these things in anime? Is this a part of Japanese culture, or is this just something that's being hammed up for an anime? So I started doing my own research. I have a couple books on it, and I've been reading and learning, and there is so much great about their culture. And even as a Christian, there's a whole religious aspect of it that I don't necessarily agree with, because they're not a Christian nation, and that's fine. Everybody has free will. But outside of that, there is so much to appreciate and enjoy about their culture. And anime is one of their big cultural exports. Anime, I would also say, like video games, Nintendo, and those things are this bridge that connected me to a culture that I probably never would have looked into without having that connection, because maybe this is just me and maybe it's a little weird. I just don't go out of my way to research other cultures, like, or other countries in general. It's just not something that's interested me. So to have anime be this like, hey, you like anime? Let's research Japan. Let's research all these different places. You see these places in anime. Let's find them on the map. Let's figure out where this inspiration came from. Let's look into their mythology of where did this specific anime thing come from? Well, it came from this part of their mythology. So just without anime, I probably never would have had an appreciation or willingness to learn about their culture, because it just wouldn't have interested me otherwise. Another thing that bothers me just a little bit too much is the, oh, well, you got into anime in 2020, so you're a tourist, which is another condescending thing. Guys, can we stop being so condescending in the anime fandom, please? I started watching anime in 2018 because that's just when it started to interest me. And I did go through that phase where I was like, anime is weird, anime is cringe, only losers watch anime. And then I watched My Hero, and now we're here. So, but let me just get this out of the way. You're not special because you started watching anime in the 1800s. Someone who started watching anime in 2020 because they were on lockdown or something could be no less of a fan than you who's been watching it since age 5 because your parent was into it. And honestly, if I genuinely have an appreciation for the art form and the medium as a whole, then it doesn't make me any less of an anime fan than you, because that's what it's truly about. It's not about how many anime you've watched. It's not about the quality of the anime you've watched. It's about, do you have a genuine respect and appreciation for the art form and the medium? Something you should ask yourself, and I've asked it to myself, is, are you willing to engage with this form of content and this form of entertainment at more than a surface level? Are you willing to take a look and say, okay, well, I like this aspect of My Hero Academia. What aspect of the Japanese culture is this critiquing or pulling from? Like, that, I think, is what helps you become more of a, what I'll call a true, genuine anime fan. Are there genuine tourists and fake fans out there? 100%. We should absolutely watch out for them when they do pop up. And I've met a lot of them on Twitter and had a conversation with them, mainly in the My Hero sphere, because that's where I feel like I need to defend the series from these tourists who don't really read the series and they have very terrible media literacy and they don't know how to... Anyway, but labeling every new fan as a tourist just because they're trying to get into it and don't really fully understand things yet is not a great strategy. Now, in summary, to summarize this video and everything I've been trying to talk about, you'll never be a real anime fan, at least in the eyes of the internet, because there will always be one classic series that you missed, or you'll have your own opinion that they don't like, and that's okay. Like I said earlier, I think what makes a true anime fan is someone who has that genuine love and respect for the medium and enjoys it for what it is, a source of entertainment. I personally don't care if you've never seen a classic like One Piece, because being totally honest, I haven't either, or if your favorite show is Demon Slayer, because anime is meant to be enjoyed, and if you get enjoyment and have a good time with your favorite show, then I think that's enough. But I want to know what you think. Am I incredibly based for my thoughts on this topic, or are you going to hop in the comments and tell me I'm yet another tourist? Either way, I look forward to hearing what you have to say and continuing this discussion. While you're there, you can subscribe so you don't miss out on any more anime content that I do like this. I was actually experimenting with this video being more unscripted and having a discussion style, so let me know if you think I should do more. And if you enjoyed this video, then you can check out one of the two on screen, one being my thoughts on what makes a good anime character, and the other being something that the YouTube algorithm thinks you'll probably like better.